Have you ever dug a spoon into a fresh tub of ice cream, expecting something smooth and creamy, only to scrape across a layer of icy crystals that crunch instead of melt? Maybe the surface looks dull and grainy, almost fluffy with frost, and the flavor seems just a little off. It's disappointing, especially when you are craving that perfect velvety scoop. We call it freezer burn. But what does that really mean? Is the ice cream spoiled? Is it unsafe? Or is something more subtle happening inside that carton? Today, we will uncover what's really happening inside that frosty tub in your freezer, right here on History of Simple Things. To understand freezer burn, we first need to understand what ice cream actually is. Ice cream isn't just frozen milk. It's a carefully balanced mixture of water, fat, sugar, air, and stabilizers. When manufacturers churn ice cream, they whip in tiny air bubbles, a process called overrun, which gives ice cream its light texture. At the same time, the mixture freezes in a controlled way so that the ice crystals remain very small. That's the key to smoothness. The smaller the crystals, the creamier the bite. Fresh ice cream is a delicate structure of microscopic ice crystals suspended in a network of fat and sugar syrup with air pockets woven throughout. Freezer burn begins with one simple ingredient: water. Even though ice cream is frozen solid, the water inside it doesn't completely stop moving. In a freezer, especially one that's opened often, temperatures fluctuate. Every time warm air enters and the temperature rises slightly, a tiny portion of the ice cream softens. When the freezer cools down again, that water refreezes. But here's the catch: it doesn't necessarily refreeze in the same tiny crystals it started with. Instead, the water molecules migrate and attach to existing crystals, making them larger. This process is called recrystallization. Over time, those once microscopic crystals grow into bigger, noticeable ones. That's why freezer-burned ice cream feels gritty or icy instead of smooth. The creamy structure breaks down, and what you're left with is a rougher texture that doesn't melt evenly on your tongue. But recrystallization is only part of the story. The other major factor is sublimation. Sublimation is when a solid turns directly into a vapor without becoming liquid first. You've probably seen this with ice cubes that shrink in the freezer over weeks. They don't melt into water, they slowly disappear. That's because the ice is turning into water vapor and escaping into the air. The same thing happens with ice cream. If the container isn't tightly sealed, or if there's empty space inside the tub, water molecules from the surface can sublimate into the dry freezer air. As moisture leaves, it dries out the exposed areas. The result? Pale, shrunken patches with a rough, almost cottony appearance. That's the classic look of freezer burn. At the same time as water escapes, the balance of ingredients shifts. Ice cream depends on a careful ratio of water, fat, and sugar. When water is lost, the remaining structure becomes uneven. Some spots become drier and icier, while others may feel oddly sticky or dense. The smooth emulsion of fat and air starts to collapse. It's not that the ice cream has suddenly gone bad. It's that its internal architecture has been disrupted. Air also plays a surprisingly important role. Ice cream already contains air from the churning process, but exposure to outside air speeds up freezer burn. The more oxygen that reaches the surface, the more moisture can escape. Oxygen can also slowly react with fats in the ice cream, causing subtle flavor changes over time. This process, known as oxidation, can create stale or slightly cardboard-like notes. It's usually mild, but combined with texture changes, it makes the whole experience less enjoyable. Temperature stability matters more than most people realize. Commercial ice cream factories freeze products quickly at very low temperatures to lock in small crystals. Grocery stores keep their freezers steady to preserve that texture. But once the carton comes home, it enters a much less controlled environment. Opening the freezer door repeatedly, placing the tub near the door instead of the back, or letting it sit out for a few minutes before refreezing. All of these actions encourage partial melting and refreezing. Each cycle gives ice crystals a chance to grow larger. You might wonder, is freezer-burned ice cream unsafe to eat? In most cases, no. Freezer burn is about quality, not safety. As long as the ice cream has been kept frozen and hasn't been contaminated or left at room temperature for extended periods, it's generally safe. The flavor and texture may suffer, but it won't suddenly become harmful because of ice crystals alone. That said, there is a limit. If ice cream has melted significantly and then refrozen, especially multiple times, the risk of bacterial growth increases during those thawed periods. The key difference is between slight surface freezer burn and complete melting. A thin, icy layer on top is mostly about moisture loss. A tub that has clearly liquefied and resolidified is another matter entirely. So how can you prevent freezer burn at home? The simplest method is to limit air exposure. After scooping, press a piece of plastic wrap or parchment paper directly onto the surface of the ice cream before putting the lid back on. This reduces the amount of air in contact with the surface and slows sublimation. Make sure the lid is tightly sealed and store the tub toward the back of the freezer where temperatures are more stable. At its heart, freezer burn is a quiet reminder that even frozen foods are still changing. Ice cream may look solid and motionless, but at the microscopic level, water molecules are shifting, crystals are merging, and air is moving in and out. Time and temperature gently reshape what was once perfectly churned. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.